Welcome to another wonderfully exciting edition of Swim Easy Speed. We're going to do a video stroke analysis today of professional triathlete Stephen Kilshaw. And, Stephen, I've known Stephen for a while. We've worked together, I think, for probably coming up on 5 years now. He's come down to the pro camp that I put on in January, usually put on January, a number of times. And then he and I usually talk a lot during the season, and he was one of the pro triathletes that I worked with on some of the focus band work. I don't know if I've ever really talked about that before, but some of the mindfulness stuff that I've tried to integrate into coaching swimmers and triathletes. So today he was down back in August, and we got in the endless pool. He swam with the team a little bit, and we worked on his stroke. So here's kind of some of the stuff that we did, or that we saw in the first video. So here he was, kind of, and he had just gotten off of a race here. He was a little tight. The first morning that he was in practice, he was really tight, and mostly in his hips. And he usually has kind of some issues around basically mobility in his hips. And you can see, he's got a pretty good stroke. He's long in the water, so you can see that kind of water line right there. He's pretty straight in the water, and let's undo that, clear it. So here we go underneath the water, and you can see, he's got here's kind of the important part. So that angle right there, where the wrist is below the elbow is below the shoulder. And you can see where he kind of starts to grab the water pretty quick on that left side. He drops the elbow on that one a little bit, but he's got a pretty good grab on the water. Here you can see on that right side where we've got a little bit more of kind of an upward tilt, where the wrist is starting to go up above the elbow and up above the shoulder. So then you're pulling down in this really, really weakened position. So you can see right here, he doesn't really start pulling himself forward until right about there is where he starts to get some forward propulsion in the water. The rest of the time, it's just pretty much pressed down on the water, which is what's going to happen is he's going to kind of just be pressing his head and his shoulders up, which will then bring the back end down. But he's got a pretty good engagement. He's going a little bit faster than most people. And so he can kind of counterbalance that out. Because if you remember, all we are in the water is just it's just a nice little kind of teeter-totter. I'll see if I can do any more shapes here. Where the teeter-totter is just kind of going up and down right there. Yeah, I'm not really a good artist, so we'll scrap that. But it's just a teeter-totter in the water. So if you're pressing the chest up, it's going to be really hard to keep that back end up. So then your water line is going to shrink. Your back end is going to create more drag in the water, so that's going to limit your distance per stroke. And then you're going to put yourself out of position to really lever the water at the front of the stroke. So you can see it's a little bit down here. So, kind of this gap right here between kind of the top of his butt and the water line, that's a good chunk of time for him. That we're probably looking at somewhere between like 3 to 5 seconds, 100. And for him, that could be the difference. I mean, that 3 to 5 seconds right there for him would be making the back end of the front group or the front end of the chase group. Which can, at the pro level, that can make all the difference in the world in terms of your final placing in the race. And actually, it's starting to get that way with, especially people trying to qualify for Ironman in an age group. The swim is becoming a lot of times kind of the deciding factor. So here you can see, again, he's got a he holds a really good line down the middle of his body. There's not a lot of movement outside of kind of that body width. You know, arms and everything's kind of driving kind of straight forward from here, straight forward from there. We don't have kind of a crossover or a crossover, because typically what you see with that is, you know, the feet are good, the hips are going to go wide like that, and you're going to zigzag down the pool, just creating a lot more resistance. Now, the one thing we did talk about was you can see kind of right here. So he's got a foot right there and then a foot right there. So this gap right here is pretty significant. And it's one of those things that's slowing down his stroke, slowing down his efficiency in the water. And all that is really just, for some reason, he feels unstable in the water. His body's kind of unstable. You'll see it later in some of the next videos that I show you. And it's his body and brain and nervous system trying to balance himself out, find that balance in the water in this really kind of dynamic and unstable environment. So here you can see, you know, the front of the stroke. The one thing that we talked about was you can see right there. So all of this looks really good. You know, the left is entering in well, really straight in line with the shoulder. He's driving it forward. He's kind of pulling, you know, you can see how wide that pull is right there, just way outside the body. So, you know, the one thing that triathletes want to think about is that when you're in the water, you are effectively, if we're going to do an analogy, you are the rider and the bike combined in the water. And just like the bike, frontal drag plays a huge role in how efficient you are. But also that ability to lever the water or effectively kind of generate power on the bike, that's impacted a lot by the stroke and the movement mechanics. So you can see right here, when you're that far wide outside your body on the pole, you're going to be placing a lot of pressure right on the top of your shoulder and really making it where you can't engage that lat or any of those really big back muscles that you want to get in on the stroke, where all the power is going to be generated from. And then you can see he's pretty good on the right, except for, if you watch right here, he starts to really press out really quickly. And again, pulls kind of wide on the stroke. So this is kind of one of the benefits of doing a video stroke analysis is, you know, there's a lot of times you can't see this stuff when you're just in the pool. I mean, some of this stuff you can, but underwater becomes a little bit more difficult because it doesn't always look like, when you're looking at it above water, underwater doesn't always, what's actually going on isn't always the same. And then you can see just from the side underwater, it looks fairly okay. But, you know, he's really given up a lot of pressure on the water by pulling kind of as wide as he is. And then we go under here, and you can really see kind of it becomes even more apparent right here just how wide and how much he's really loading up the top part of that shoulder. And then, you know, here's the arm out here, when in reality, you know, the arm should be kind of more like this. So we'll go there to there. So that's kind of the difference of where the arm position should be. And the best way to think about it would be, you know, when you're pulling yourself out of the pool, you don't put your arms really wide. No, you put them inside your body frame and push up. So that's one of the things that we kind of worked on to try to get him to think about in this session. All right, so what we started out with was just kind of that pipe drill. And here's where you can kind of see, we'll kind of go slow-mo here. So you can see he's got both hands kind of initially where he wants them. Here, wait, we'll go back a little bit. You know, because I think we started out that we wanted the pipe kind of, or his hands on the pipe just inside the end cap, so that's where he should be hitting each time. So you can see, you know, as he goes through, first one first kind of on that right lands pretty much inside by looks about 2 inches. So you can see it right there. He's kind of way inside where he originally started out. And then as he pulls through here, he goes in again. And then we kind of go through, and he starts to kind of correct a little bit as we go through. So that was the first repeat when he was struggling with it a little bit. And then you can see how he's really started to kind of come out just a little bit and get a little bit better feel. Now, here's the really important part of what this is doing. So if you look back here now, you can see that his feet are a lot closer together, okay? So he feels in his brain, body, everything's telling him, I'm a lot more stable in the water, okay? And that's what we're always looking for. We're looking for this really stable place to be able to lever the water, okay? To be able to apply as much force and power as we can on the water. So you can see he goes through, and there we go. So here we go, kind of putting it together a little bit more. So you can see we've sped it up. He looks really, really relaxed, really solid. His feet are a lot closer together. And I know that the one thing that he did tell me was when he got home, he did a set that he normally does. And he was going times, he had dropped about 2 seconds off of his 50 repeats. So he was kind of, I think he said 28s. And he hadn't seen those times, I think he said, ever. He had been pretty close in 2019. But yeah, so he saw some improvement. So he's actually going to be back in December, so we'll do another video then. But as always, thank you for tuning in and checking us out. And if you have any questions, likes, shares, anything like that, just you know what to do down below. And then always happy to answer questions. Thanks again.